This is Joe,
Michelle,
Melissa,
and Shannon
with More Than a Sniff, where we talk about everything dog.
from training to nutrition,
from behavior modification to grooming, from vet visits to dog parks.
From getting to know us to having guests. Today we're going to talk about the Terrier group, and they're a fascinating group of dogs, and I think it's probably a group that nobody really understands, and people that talk to me about getting a dog or wanting a dog, they're like, I just don't want a Terrier. And I don't think that people completely understand the Terrier group in general. And so I'm going to start with a client of mine, you guys know, with Oxford, the Border Terrier. And that was one of her very first requests was, I don't want a Terrier. And as we sat around and decided to pick the breed, it ended up being a Border Terrier. And training has definitely been different, but they really committed to the training and understanding who he is and what they need to do for him, and they are really actually doing a pretty fabulous job. They have, concerns here and there as they go about life, but they really understand his thinking, and that's how they train and allow him to have some of that release. And right now they're doing herding classes with him. Not that he has any natural herd to him, but it's something for him to do that's challenging for his brain to think about. So I think, people initially like, oh, I don't want a Terrier, but I don't think that they completely understand that sometimes Terriers are a really good fit for a lot of people, a lot more people than would think. And also I think Terriers are better for the general public than the herding breeds are overall. And so I think it's just a hard group to fathom. With it, Melissa, what's your overall experience with Terriers?
I think, before I used to think of Terriers as just the barkers. Mm-hmm. And I just like, I didn't really understand them as like little individuals.
Right.
But in reality, like Terriers, they have just such a high intense prey drive.
Yeah.
That people misunderstand what that means. But once you give them a job, they're happy to work for you. They're very independent. Like they will second guess.
Yeah.
In a fun way. Like I love
Yeah.
that little strong personality.
Yep.
And my favorite thing to do with clients with their Terriers is to understand, even though they're small, they have big dog minds.
Right.
Like they think they are the biggest dog in the house, and they have their own agenda.
Right.
Sometimes, but like giving them jobs.
Yep.
And understanding why is my dog digging in the couch?
Yeah.
Well, my dog, we're bred to go into holes and hunt badgers.
Right. Yeah.
But once they can harness their powerful little brains,
Yeah.
just because they have such high intensity,
Yeah.
that's my favorite thing to do is hunting games with them in
Right.
the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had clients whose dogs have now hunt mice,
Yeah.
and they're like, we don't have a mouse problem because
Right.
our dog
Yeah.
hunts mice in the middle of the city.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
That's
super
awesome.
fun.
Yeah. That's good. Michelle, what's your overall feel of the Terriers?
I will admit that they are not my favorite group of dogs.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I remember having a conversation with you not that long ago that I said I would personally never own one, and you kind of laughed and went, actually, you'd be a really good Terrier owner, Michelle.
Yeah.
And I was like, I probably would be, but, I think they are a fascinating group. They're actually I think they're one of the funnest groups to work with as a trainer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it is really hard for me to, speaking of the herding dogs, like I really think I kind of think like a herding dog sometimes.
Yeah.
And I really can understand their thought process, where Terriers, I think, have that almost that same thought process, but it's a little bit more intense and it's more instant. Like they don't stop and think about things. For herding dogs, like stop and you can actually see the wheels turning.
Yep.
Where Terriers, they go to Terrier Town. That's what I like to call it.
Yep.
And I can't wrap my brain around that. But to actually work them, I think they're so much fun to work because they are extremely willing to do that. They're bred to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they have, if they are not in that mode, I think they have some of the biggest personalities of any of the breeds out there. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really great for a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people want that clowny, outgoing, bubbly craziness. So I think it's a really fascinating group.
Right.
It really is, because you do have that. They do have that instinct, and all of them do.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yep.
I have yet to, I know if you read about Border Terriers, they say they're supposed to be the least like Terriers.
Yeah.
He's still a very much Terrier.
He's
like
very
he
much
is.
Terrier. Yeah.
So So just any of those dogs in that group, you're not going to avoid that terrier town is what I like to call it.
Right. Yeah.
You're going to get it in some way. But if you know how to like harness in on that and get them out there working and stuff like that and doing stuff that they love, even if that's inside the house and whatnot, you can avoid a lot of the actual issues of it.
Right. Right. Melissa, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to kind of talk about how you were saying terrier town. And that's kind of what people think about when they think of terriers is going to that. But I think every single category has their own little town that they go to.
Yeah, I agree.
But the terriers can be a lot more outspoken about when they're going to terrier town.
Yeah.
In high school, my parents got an old dachshund, and we got him as a senior, and we just kind of like, oh, he wants to be lazy. But he started digging through our couch, like through the cushions, and he started getting very naughty, and terrier town was every day and every second. But we Googled, like, what were dachshunds bred to do?
Yeah.
And so we would hide treats under the couch, and he could crawl on his belly and get them, and we would hide socks with stuff around the house.
Yeah.
And that's what he did all day, is we'd go find stuff.
Yeah.
He was fine.
Right.
That would stop all the weird.
Yeah.
But he had those jobs of.
Right.
And we only hid like 4 treats.
Yeah.
But after that, he was like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah. Yep.
And we had PVC
sometimes
pipe
all they need.
that we would put stuff on the end. He would just crawl through PVC pipes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just harnessing that little bit.
Right.
And just thinking about the terriers that are like, like super high prey drive. And I don't remember her name, but the Jack Russell we had
Lily.
that had such a high prey drive.
Yeah.
That
Lily.
was fascinating to me, that such a little dog had such powerful energy.
Yeah.
And it was super fun to work with.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Shannon, what's your terrier take?
I love terriers. That's my favorite group. I love the look of them. I love the size of them. They are really smart, and I think they're very determined. And I think that when their determination is not aligned with yours, that's when they get into these things about they're really stubborn, And so you have to know how to align their determination to what you want it to be to, because if you can, they can accomplish anything. They're really complex, and they understand complex chains of things, so you can train them to do like really cool, amazing tricks because they can chain their ideas together. So I love them. If you harness their power at a young age, they can do anything.
I think that's what is probably the most challenging thing for people is they think terrier, they think aggression, they think biters, and they're really not. My overall experience with terriers is if you're very black and white with them, they're very black and white with you, with everything that they do, even in their hunting skills. If you can be very black and white how you want them to do it, and you're very consistent with it, they're all about it. So I think the fear is that there's an aggression, and they're really not. They're not. I think that the herding dogs are actually, and some of the working dogs are more aggressive than the terrier group. The terrier group's a bit more fierce.
I was going to say, they also do, there is such thing as terrier teeth. They are sharper, which makes it worse.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But they're not mean. They're not aggressive dogs in general. And I had a previous trainer who a fair amount of you who are listening know her, and she has dachshunds. And she did her whole backyard in tunnels for them. And it was super fun for them to get in and get going. And they would race through there and just have a ball. And then they were done for the day. And she would randomly hide things in there. She got creative that she would hide rats in pens in there, and she had trap doors that she could open up and put things in throughout these, and so they could race to find where the rat was in their cage, and they just love it. I mean, they really, and I'm not saying go out and buy a rat and, convert your whole backyard into tunnels, but you can really have fun with it. You almost could put them in a hamster ball and have fun with them even. I mean, it's so crazy, but as long as they have something that can get that adrenaline out, They're not long-term, they're not cross-country runners at all. They're short distance, work hard, make it fierce, and then be done. And Chris and I, a couple of years ago, was watching a documentary on how they use terriers over in Europe, and they use them for getting rid of the rats in the barns, and they just have so much hay and green and piles of garbage that they would go through, and as they lift the bales of hay up to go feed, there would just scattered with rats, and that's all the dogs did was shake and kill and get rid of them and wait for the next bale to be lifted up. And they really, and then the rest of the day they slept. And so a lot of the farmers and the ranchers really enjoy having that terrier-ish to them to decrease the population in a quick way and then not have to worry about the dogs. There's a piece in our Idaho shags and in having Airedale in them that we see a lot of the terrier piece to them that comes out where they're, Melissa, I don't know if you noticed, but with Yuki, but with Trigger, everything is so fast and furious. And you're like, can you just go slow? I need a minute to think about this process that we're doing. And so even Trigger out herding, when I ask her for a direction, it's really fast. And then we get to the bend and then way down. I just don't need you to go that fast. But that's what it feels like with everything with her.
Oh, everything. And it's so black and white.
Yeah.
We always joke that she acts and then thinks.
Yep.
And Cooper thinks and then acts.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes. But that's the most thing the biggest thing we can notice between the two.
Yeah.
Is even if we're going out and playing Frisbee, Yuki's go, 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 go. And then she's exhausted.
Yeah.
Where Cooper paces herself.
Yep.
But everything is 100% going out there. And and especially when she, we call it Yukiville, but I guess it's her equivalent of Terrier Town because when she gets an idea, it's...
it's all on.
It's all on.
Yeah.
All on. And she, between her and Cooper, she loves scent games the most. Mm-hmm. She loves it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now I'm just hiding treats around the house just because she gets so pumped if I say hide and seek. She's
right.
100% ready to go hunt.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that's fascinating with Trigger, we'll have a conversation. Last night we were having a conversation in the kitchen, and I say conversation because the dogs were a part of this conversation. The dogs. Trigger was the only one home last night. I say that like the kids are out, right? Trigger was the only one home. And, Chris and I were standing in the kitchen and having this conversation, and I was talking to Trigger, and she just kind of looked at me like I was just like, I don't really I don't really know what you're saying, and nor do I just really even care what you're saying. Where if I would have had that conversation with Chianti, there would have been this oh, yeah, you bet. And Trigger was just completely I don't really know what you're saying. You can't even talk on the same level, it feels like. So, and I think that's where people get caught up with the terriers is the connection is so different that it doesn't feel really real. And they really just want to work for you. It's not about let's do this together. They just really want to work for you and then be done.
And they like you and they want to be with you, but it's they don't want to sit on your lap. My terrier Clooney, he wanted to be in the room with you. And sometimes he would want to sit on the sofa, but he would sit on the opposite end of the sofa from where you were. And you just have to accept that he likes you enough to come and sit on the sofa, but it's just not on top of you. When he was a tiny baby, I would hold him and he'd fall asleep on me and he'd wake up, get up and walk to the end of the sofa and go back to sleep. And he was just like that his whole life, So they like you and they want to be a part of your team, but it's not like this squishy sit on your lap and give me kissies and stuff, which is what Louie is, But that's just their way that they love you. It's just in the same room, not on your lap. Yeah.
And even, Trigger out in the yard, she'll come sit with you, but really she just kind of hangs with you. She's fine. She's good. And I think there's a strong terrier piece to these guys that we have. more so than maybe what I completely realized until we got talking about this group, because the herding dogs tend to be a little bit more clingy and yeah, Trigger's not clingy like in that way. So, so the Terrier group is not a scary group, and I would suggest people really diving into it and looking at the Terrier group, and I think that they're actually for a lot more city people in our suburbia world that we live in, more than what you realize. And I think it's easier to find jobs for Terriers in the house and around the yard than it is sometimes the herding group, as far as keeping their brains sound and everything. Michelle, what's your advice with people looking for a Terrier?
Oh man, with this group, it is really interesting because I really do think you need to do your research about it, because you do need to understand that there is that piece to them.
Yeah.
That they have to be worked.
Yeah.
The toy group doesn't have to be worked. I mean, you should.
Yeah.
But like their job really can be coming and sitting on your lap, right?
Right.
Like this group really does need more than just that. Even if that's just basic obedience that you ask them to sit every time they come in the house.
Yeah.
A lot of them have grooming requirements, so be prepared for that. A lot of them don't shed, which is really, really, really
Right.
fantastic. But
Yeah.
they do have. You actually have to take them and get them clipped and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you really just want like a funny dog, like a comical dog, like if you want that like comic relief in your life, Terriers are definitely it. Like they are definitely the clowns of the dog world.
Yep. I agree.
Absolutely. And they will find the weirdest things to get into and the funniest things to do. And you're like, what in the heck is going on?
Yeah.
So if that's your thing, definitely look into Terriers. They really are fun little dogs for the most part. Little. There's a couple that are bigger. But be aware, not all of them are great with small, like cats or small animals like that. So you do have to be prepared for that if you do also have that kind of stuff.
Right.
They do definitely still have that prey drive. And when it happens quick.
Yep.
So just be prepared for that and know that that's a possibility.
Perfect. Melissa, do you have anything to add?
Don't judge the Terriers because of your neighbor's Terrier.
Right.
And that's, like, I admit that I used to be like that. Our neighbors had 2 Yorkies, and I hated them.
Yeah.
But now, like, if you want a Terrier, don't think of them as a Terrier.
Right.
If that makes sense, because there's so much misconceived notions about them. I would suggest looking up YouTube videos of them, to be honest, to like kind of see how broad the Terrier group is.
Right. Yeah.
I'll do that. I'll search a group, and then I will just get in the depths of YouTube to find what people have done with these dogs.
Yep.
Or like different competitions. Like I was actually in a wormhole looking at the toy braid and rally, just because I was like, I wonder what this would look like.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to do that and to contact a trainer to see if you could meet a good Terrier.
Yeah.
Like, I'm interested in a Terrier. Can I
meet a few?
Yeah. Because I think that is so important to meet a few.
Yeah, I agree.
Not all of them are the same.
Right.
But take that risk.
Yeah.
Even though it's not much of a risk, but
right.
take that leap of initiative
to
look at the group with open eyes.
Nice.